Trump's tariff war, it's just crazy. America's resource crisis, it's here. Let's unpack all of this and dive in. All right, guys, welcome back to The Baseline. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate it. So again, man, something is shifting right now. You can't put your finger on it. I'm sure you can feel it. It's right underneath our feet, right? It's in the grocery bill that crept up this week again. It's in the jobs report that somehow reads like an obituary for American manufacturing. And it's in the silence coming out of Washington right now. The smoke and mirrors that try to convince you that everything's fine while the ground is splitting beneath our feet. So Donald Trump just vanished for 3 days, and the White House won't exactly tell you why. And in the middle of that, all that silence, the so-called America First tariffs just detonated in our faces. Now, you felt it, right? If you've bought anything for $100 last year, you're probably paying at least $120 right now. That $20 didn't just evaporate. It was siphoned directly out of your pocket and dropped right into Scott Bessent's treasury for Trump to play with. And the pitch was, tariffs make America stronger. The reality, you just got taxed. And Washington, it got fatter. And here's the cruel joke to it all. This isn't some niche industry shakeup. This is broad-based pain. We're talking about autos, electronics, computers. They're clobbered. Manufacturing payrolls, they're down by 100,000 in a year. Another 12,000 gone just in August. Now, that's not a statistic. That's your neighbor losing his job or her job. That's your cousin's plant shutting its doors. That's a factory town going dark. So pause with me here just for a moment, because Washington wants you to believe tariffs are tax cuts. Now, Navarro actually played dodgeball on live TV with this, right? So is it a tax or is it a cut? And he actually said, I say they're a tax, or he actually said they're tax cuts. Now imagine that. It's like calling a pickpocket a philanthropist because he left you bus fare. Economists across the board call it what it is, a tax hike. And you're paying it. And the politicians are spending it. But it gets even uglier when you follow the supply chain. Because America doesn't have an army of robots mining graphite in Kansas. We're importing it. Half of our graphite comes from, yep, you guessed it, China. And instead of leaving that lifeline intact, Trump slapped a 93.5% tariff on Chinese graphite. 93%. Now, you may as well say, don't ship it at all. Because that's like putting a velvet rope around your only water source in the desert and then wondering why you're left thirsty. And then comes the shocker, right? The White House reverses course. They reverse course. Suddenly, graphite, tungsten, uranium, and even gold bullion are exempt. These U-turns are crazy, right? But you don't make that U-turn because you're confident. You make it because industries are bleeding out. Electric vehicle batteries, semiconductors, defense systems, even medical devices, guys. All of them depend on these minerals. Without them, critical sectors collapse. And here's where it all gets really Orwellian, right? Trump's, when he raises tariffs to punish China, then quietly exempts the very stuff we need the most, that's not a strategy. That ends up looking like a clown show from the outside looking in, right? And speaking of those clowns, right, Zuckerberg just sat in front of Congress sweating bullets. mumbling about pouring maybe 600 billion through 2028 into United States tech. Now, when your leaders are interrogating tech bros like they're auditioning for Shark Tank, you know policy has gone off the rails. Now, let's zoom out for just a moment, right? Because this isn't just about tariffs. This is about resources too. This is about who controls the building blocks of the future. Graphite, cobalt, lithium, nickel, uranium. And right now, China controls that chessboard. They don't just mine it, they stockpile it. They buy up mines in Kazakhstan, Africa, Latin America. They produce more gold than the United States and Canada combined. Which brings us to gold, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about gold because this exemption tells you everything. Trump quietly leaves the door open for unlimited gold imports. Why does he do this? Because the United States debt bomb just went off 5 years early. 37 trillion today, climbing towards 60 trillion in a decade, 100 trillion by 2048. That's not a debt. That's a death sentence for an economy. Now, nobody believes it gets paid back. And when the dollar finally buckles under its own weight, you'd better believe the lifeboat's going to be gold. And maybe, just maybe, the reason Fort Knox has been so hush-hush is because those vaults aren't quite as full as we were told. Now, maybe America is quietly stockpiling through proxies, refilling the reserves while telling you it's all fine. Desperate times do call for desperate measures. And one can only hope there's a bright side to what they may or may not be doing secretly. But meanwhile, China isn't playing defense, guys. They're cornering the gold market, raising billions in Hong Kong IPOs, snapping up mines from Africa to Central Asia, and hovering up more than 500 tons of gold annually. Gold never leaves Chinese soil again. That's the gold that's never going to leave Chinese soil again. They already produce 380 tons a year themselves. They consume more than anyone else. Their economy is a black hole for gold. So let me say this as plainly as possible. Tariffs are not protecting America. They're accelerating the transfer of wealth and resources to America's rivals. Even tariff-induced price hikes, every job loss, every manufacturing cut, it's not just weakening your wallet, it's strengthening Beijing's hand. Now, you could say, well, Trump's making tough calls, and maybe it even evens out at the end of it all. But does it look like it's evening out? I mean, China gets cheaper commodities from Russia. They churn out cheaper goods. They capture more global market share. And America, we're left taxing our own citizens to death while begging for exemptions on the minerals that keep the lights on for us here in the United States. So let's end on this, guys, because yes, all of this is really heavy. But there's a way to see it clearly and walk away stronger, right? Tariffs don't make nations rich. They make governments big. They make industries weak. And they make citizens poorer. So the question is whether you accept that or whether you start demanding policies that actually serve you and me and us, not some politician's short-term applause line. Because here's the truth of it all. Challenges lie ahead of us. That's just life, right? But the fact that you're seeing it now, the fact that you're not buying the smoke and mirrors, that already makes you stronger. And I'm sure Washington a little bit more nervous. But it makes you stronger than 90% of people who will get blindsided when the next shock hits. So stay sharp, stay informed, guys. And if you're holding US paper while China's hoarding gold, maybe it's a good time for all of us to ask ourselves, who's really playing the long game here? All right, do I have this all right? Do I have it all wrong? I value your opinion. I read all the comments and reply back to all of them. Please leave your comment in the section below and let me know. Thank you guys so much for joining the Baseline. I so appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you the next round. All right, cheers everybody.